It was the kind of cold that didn't just seep through your coat, but wrapped around your bones like ice. The kind of night when even the city lights seemed to shiver. Amelia stood under a flickering street lamp outside the tiny corner cafe, checking her phone again. 6:43 p.m. He was late. Not by much, but enough to make her doubt everything. Maybe he'd taken one look at her profile and decided she wasn't worth it. Maybe this was another cruel joke the universe liked to play, sending her hope wrapped in a blind date, only to tear it away just before it could bloom. But then, through the mist and the blur of traffic, he appeared. Not in a sleek car, not dressed in designer brands, but walking. His coat was old, patched at the elbow, and his shoes had clearly seen better days. He had no umbrella, just drenched hair and a sheepish smile. He looked nothing like the polished, clean, cut men she usually met on dates. He looked tired, worn, and yet, there was something kind in his eyes, something sincere that made her stay, even when her instincts screamed to turn away. The man introduced himself simply as Ethan. No last name, no elaborate backstory. Just Ethan. He apologized for being late, for not driving, for not looking like much. He told her he'd just come from his job at a nearby auto garage, working the late shift. His hands were rough, with faint grease stains he hadn't fully scrubbed away. Amelia wasn't sure why she didn't leave. Maybe it was the way he looked directly into her eyes, not at her makeup or her dress or her curves, but really into her, as if seeing something others had missed. The date was, by all accounts, unusual. He couldn't afford the wine she ordered, so he asked for hot tea. When the bill came, he counted out wrinkled bills and coins, apologizing again. And yet, he never once made her feel awkward or lesser for having more. He asked about her passions, not her job title. He listened, really listened, when she spoke about losing her mother to cancer last year, and how it had broken her in ways she still didn't know how to express. Most men changed the subject, uncomfortable with emotion. Ethan held the silence with her, let it be soft. They met again.
Once, then twice.
And then every Friday after that. He never picked her up in a car. Always walked, or sometimes took the bus. He never took her to fancy restaurants. Instead, they'd get takeout and sit at the park, watching the city lights flicker across the water. He'd tell her stories. About books he loved. About dreams he had as a boy. About building something that mattered. Amelia didn't realize she was falling for him, until the night he pulled out an old, out-of-tune guitar and sang to her, not caring who listened. But reality has sharp teeth. Amelia's friends noticed. One, in particular, Candace, confronted her. He's a nobody. Amelia, do you really see a future with a man who can't even pay for your coffee? Come on, girl. You're worth more than that. And those words, cruel as they were, began to nest in Amelia's thoughts. She started noticing the worn shoes, the absence of gifts, the fact that Ethan had no LinkedIn, no social presence, no clear direction. Doubt creeps in quietly, like fog under a door. One rainy evening, after a particularly brutal day at work and an even more brutal call with her father about dating with standards, Amelia snapped. When Ethan showed up at her doorstep, soaking wet and holding a wilted flower he'd clearly picked on the way, she couldn't hold it in. She asked him, directly, painfully, "Who are you, Ethan? Really? Why don't you have a car? Why do you dress like that? Why are you always hiding behind silence and stories and dreams?" She was shaking angry. Not because he'd done something wrong, but because she was afraid she'd let herself believe in someone who didn't fit the mold. A man who wasn't safe in the way society defined success. Ethan stood there, the flower crushed between his fingers. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, softly, he whispered, "I didn't lie to you, Amelia. I just never told you everything. Because I wanted to know if someone could see me without the money, without the name. Just me." She didn't understand. Not then. She only closed the door. Days passed. Then weeks. Silence filled the spaces where his voice used to be. She tried to move on, tried to date other men. Men with suits, bank accounts, and shiny smiles. But it all felt hollow. No one asked about her dreams. No one remembered her mother's favorite flower. No one sang off-key with such earnestness it made her laugh through tears. Then, a call came from her office assistant. "Amelia, you might want to see this." She was sent a link. A press release. Her heart stopped. The photo was unmistakable. Cleaned up, yes. Hair combed, suit tailored, but those eyes. That same quiet kindness. It was him. The man who couldn't pay for coffee. The man who rode buses and counted coins. And then it hit her. He hadn't needed anything. He chose that life. Or at least, a part of it. To find something real. To not be seen as a walking bank account. He'd been testing the world and she'd failed. Crushed with guilt, she tried to contact him. No response. She showed up at the Caldwell headquarters, only to be gently turned away at the reception desk. "Mr. Caldwell isn't accepting visitors today." The polished receptionist smiled politely. "But he did leave this for you." It was an envelope. Inside, a single note, written in his handwriting. She cried that night. Not because he was rich, but because she'd let fear drown love. 3 weeks passed before she saw him again. She was volunteering at a shelter downtown. Something she'd started to reconnect with the part of her heart she'd ignored. She was helping serve meals when someone bumped into her gently. It was him. No suit, no fanfare. Just Ethan, holding 2 trays, smiling that same smile that melted her defenses from day one. He looked at her for a long moment. "I come here sometimes. Helps me stay grounded." Her voice trembled. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I was scared, and I judged you. I thought I was better. But I wasn't." He shook his head. "You weren't wrong to ask questions, Amelia. You were wrong to walk away before hearing the answer." They stood in the noisy shelter, the smell of food and the chatter of voices all around them. And yet, for a moment, it was just the two of them. She reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. They served side by side that night. No titles, no illusions, just hands, hearts, and second chances.